I started in agriculture actually when I was 19 years old as an internship for 3 summers for an independent agronomist. Since then, I've worked the last 8 years in cooperative settings, both regional and local cooperatives. Right now I'm at a local cooperative, Coopertive Producers Inc in Waco, Nebraska. On a daily basis, depending on the time of the season it is, if it's the winter, I'm out in the sales process talking about how the products performed in the previous year, what they can do to be more efficient this next year. During the summer and the spring, I'm out there doing a lot of field checks, doing a lot of spot checks, making sure they're putting the right products in the right places, and following up on the recommendations I made in the winter. There's a couple reasons I want to try AVAIL in this area of the state. First off, I'm always looking for products to help the farmer become more efficient, get the most out of their acres, get a better return on their money. What I saw in the AVAIL trials from other areas was that for the amount of money you're putting out, you're doubling it coming back. You're making yourself just more efficient. So I wanted to try it and get some tests out for myself. Right now we're using AVAIL in 2 different areas. One for commercial corn production, the other one for seed corn production. Where we've been seeing a good increase is where we've been utilizing AVAIL and zinc both in the starter blend. By using both of those, we're not only seeing an increase in the yield at the end, but we're also seeing a couple physiological advantages early on in the season. These include larger root mass, thicker, stronger stalks, and taller corn. And the taller the corn gets quicker, it canopies quicker, which kind of helps us with our weed pressure also. What I've seen so far is on side-by-sides, I've seen about a 4-inch height difference at V5 corn, which is pretty substantial. I've also seen about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch thicker stalk at the base of the plant, which is also substantial. And the root system is about 4 inches deeper on average. So if you look at all those, the plant is not only just taller, it's actually a darker, lusher green, which is probably going to help in photosynthesis. This last year, we had some of the record high prices in phosphate fertilizers, and AVAIL is all about efficiency. AVAIL was a way that they could combat the $1,300 a ton fertilizer prices by making themselves more efficient. Some cut back a little bit on their rate and used a full rate of AVAIL. Others just threw AVAIL in because they knew that it's going to help them get the most benefit out of that phosphate they could. So far, there's been no complaints on it. They think that it's probably doing exactly what we said it was going to. The best response I've seen so far is a guy called me and said, "What the heck did you do to my corn?" And I said, "Why?" He's like, "It's horrible." So I kind of laughed. I said, "Well, did it burn it? Did it try anything?" He's like, "You just have to come down and look at it." So I went down there and he actually only did the whole entire quarter with AVAIL and zinc in his starter. And then he left 3 16-row strips without the AVAIL and just with the zinc and starter. And actually the AVAIL was 4 inches taller. You can see it down the row, and he was chuckling the whole time. He had me a little nervous, but I mean, when you mix the AVAIL and zinc both in there, I've not heard one complaint at all, and it's been a pretty resounding good results for it. So there's a couple different ways that you could say a farmer could utilize AVAIL. The first, a farmer that's on a cash rent basis, he has to put phosphorus in there each year, and he might be afraid to build up the phosphorus levels since he might not have that farm the next year. What AVAIL does is it allows more phosphorus that he's putting on to be available for him that first year. The other way that it can be utilized is those farmers out there that have poor phosphorus levels. This gives them a way not only to build up their land, but also all that phosphorus that they're putting on, this allows it to be more available for them right away for this year's crop. Looking back over all the things that AVAIL does for a farmer, what makes me think that it's a piece of the puzzle that can work here in the state? AVAIL allows farmers to do a couple things, and we've talked about them previously. One thing to look at though is the cost of AVAIL per acre using 5 gallons of starter. It allows the farmer to get 3-4 bushels back, when the cost of it at 5 gallons is right around that $4.55 mark. So really the farmer is paying a bushel to a bushel and a half of corn, depending on the year and the commodity prices, for this increase. And you know, there are some increases that are 18. It all depends on what his soils provide him for nutrients. AVAIL also allows farmers something that they have not been allowed to do in the last 20 years. In the last 20 years, our equipment has changed. Our seed has changed, our herbicide changed, our cultural practices have changed. Science has always taken things to the next level. We are still using the same type of starter, same type of nutrients, same type of fertilizer that we used 20 years ago. AVAIL allows us to make that more efficient. So for so many years, farmers had relied on technology to increase every other piece of the puzzle. AVAIL is increasing the fertilizer piece of the puzzle. It's going to make a farmer more efficient.